I am your host, Christene Marie. Happy day 96 of the year. I am excited to dive in today, and I'm going to start with a few review lessons as we do. Lesson 61, I am the light of the world. Lesson 62, forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. Lesson 63, the light of the world brings peace to every mind through my forgiveness. Lesson 64, let me not forget my function. Lesson 65, my only function is the one God gave me. My happiness and my function are one. Lesson 66. Lesson 67, love created me like itself. Lesson 68, love holds no grievances. Lesson 69, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. Lesson 70, my salvation comes from me. Lesson 71, God's plan for salvation will work. Lesson 72, holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Lesson 73, I will, there be light. Lesson 74, there is no will but God's. Lesson 75, the light has come. Lesson 76, I am under no laws but God's. Lesson 77, I am entitled to miracles. Lesson 78, let miracles replace all grievances. Lesson 79, let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Lesson 80, let me recognize my problems have been solved. Lesson 91, miracles are seen in light. Lesson 92, miracles are seen in light, and light and strength are one. Lesson 93, light and joy and peace abide in me. Lesson 94, I am as God created me. Lesson 95, I am one self united with my Creator. And lesson 96, salvation comes from my one self. Although you are one self, you experience yourself as two, as both good and evil, loving and hating, mind and body. This sense of being split into opposites induces feelings of acute and constant conflict and leads to frantic panics to reconcile the contradictory aspects of this self-perception. You have sought many solutions, none of them have worked. The opposites you see in you will never be compatible, but one exists. The fact that truth and illusion cannot be reconciled, no matter how you try, what means you use, or where you see the problems must be accepted if you would be saved. Until you have accepted this, you will attempt an endless list of goals you cannot reach. A senseless series of expenditures of time and effort, hopefulness and doubt. Each one is futile as the one before, and failing as the next one surely will. Problems that have no meaning cannot be resolved within the framework they are set. Two selves in conflict could not be resolved, and good and evil have no meeting place. The self you made can never be your capital S self, nor can your true self be split in two and still be what it is and must be forever. A mind and body cannot both exist. Make no attempt to reconcile the two, for one denies the other is real. If you are physical, your mind is gone from your self-concept, for it has no place in which it could really be part of you. If you are a spirit, then the body must be meaningless to your reality. Spirit makes use of mind as means to find its self-expression. And the mind which serves the spirit is at peace and filled with joy. Its power comes from spirit, and it is fulfilling happily its function here. Yet mind can also see itself divorced from spirit and perceive itself within a body it confuses with itself. Without its function, then it has no peace, and happiness is alien to its thoughts. Yet mind, apart from spirit, cannot think. It has denied its source of its strength and sees itself as helpless, limited, and weak. Disassociated from its function now, it thinks it is alone and separate, attacked by armies massed against itself and hiding in the body's frail support. Now must it reconcile unlike with like, for this is what it thinks that it is for. Waste no more time on this. Who can resolve the senseless conflicts which a dream presents? What could the resolution mean in truth? What purpose could it serve? What is it for? Salvation cannot make illusions real, nor solve a problem that does not exist. Perhaps you hope it can. Yet you have God's plan for the release of his dear son, bring pain to him, and fail to set him free. Yet, I'm going to read that one more time. Yet would you have God's plan for the release of his dear son, bring pain to him, and fail to set him free? Your self retains its thoughts, and they remain within your mind and in the mind of God. The Holy Spirit holds salvation in your mind and offers it the way of peace. Salvation is a thought you share with God because his voice accepted it for you and answered in your name that it is done. Thus is salvation kept among the thoughts yourself holds dear and cherishes for you. We will attempt today to find this thought whose presence in your mind is guaranteed by him who speaks to you from your one self. Our hourly 5-minute practicing will be a search for him within your mind. Salvation comes from this one self through him who is the bridge between your mind and it. Wait patiently. Let him speak to you about yourself and what your mind can do, restored to it and free to serve its will. Begin with saying this: salvation comes from my one self. Its thoughts are mine to use. Then seek its thoughts and claim them as your own. These are your own real thoughts you have denied, and let your mind go wandering in a world of dreams to find illusions in their place. Here are your thoughts, the only ones you have. Salvation is among them. Find it there. If you succeed, the thoughts that come to you will tell you you are saved and that your mind has found the function that it sought to lose. Your self will welcome it and give it peace. Restored in strength, it will again flow out from spirit to the spirit in all things created by the spirit as itself. Your mind will bless all things. Confusion done, you are restored, for you have found yourself. Yourself knows you cannot fail today. Perhaps your mind remains uncertain yet a little while. Be not dismayed by this. The joy your self experiences will be saved for you, and it will yet be yours in full awareness. Every time you spend 5 minutes of the hour seeking him who joins your mind and yourself, you offer him another treasure to be kept for you. Each time today you tell your frantic mind salvation comes from yourself, you lay another treasure in your growing store, and all of it is given everyone who asks for it and will accept the gift. Think then how much is given unto you to give this day that it will be given you. Wow. I feel like these lessons are getting more and more complex. I'm reading this and it's so dense. The one thing that I really, really want to emphasize here, and I know that you all can't see this, so I feel like I need to figure out a way so that you can read along with me. There are times where she capitalizes self, like capitalizes the S, and capitalizes spirit to represent. And the way that I think of it is this. So when I first started therapy, I used internal family systems, that I guess you could say modality. And it was coined by this gentleman who had seen over 2,000 patients, and he kept hearing consistent phrases used where people would say this part of me, and then the true part of me. And the kind of the modality as he coined it was that there are 4 parts of us. There's a wounded part that really a lot of times is from childhood. And that wounded part is the one that actually so often we're trying to protect from getting hurt again. And so there's the wounded part that nowadays is often pretty quiet and we don't give much room or access to ourselves or access to that wounded part to other people. And so then there's this other part that's called the manager. And its role is to protect the wounded part. And it protects the wounded part by managing things, by kind of controlling timelines and organization. It's very like left brain. And then you've got the firefighter, which is trying to protect the wounded part. And it's trying to do so very much through distraction. So it's the part that will pick up the phone. It's the part that will use humor in exchange for vulnerability. And then there's the true self. And that's the capital S part. And that is like who God made us to be before we were wounded, before, everyone else told us who to be. And so as I'm reading this, I'm thinking of how this self, this true self, is really It's the one that's made in the image of God. It's kind of the organic part of us that if we were to do what Michelangelo said as he was creating David, if we were to chip away everything we are not, the true self is who we would be. It's effectively the integrity of who God created us to be in the first place. And so as I'm reading through this, it's that there's different pieces that have been added to us over the years through either examples that were modeled for us about how to show up in the world, the managers or firefighters trying to protect our wounded part. And a lot of times those voices, the voices of everybody around us, or even the voices of our protectors inside, are louder than the true self. And so that's really what this intent is to get beyond the noise. And so what she encourages us to do is to take 5 minutes, literally every hour, and just close our eyes and listen for the voice of God, and listen for, there's the Latin root of the word intuition is intuere, and it means to be taught from within. And I only kind of recovered that as I started to strip away the external noise. So in this whole concept around coming back home to this true self, I was thinking about this a couple of years ago, and I just realized, I had been spending so much time cultivating my relationship with the external, with the voices to the right and to the left. And so my compass was navigating east and west, and it wasn't navigating north. I didn't have access to the voice of God and to the voice of my own intuition. And so because of that, it was so incredibly hard for me to know which way to go. And so as I started eliminating the horizontal voices, I slowly came back to kind of vertical alignment, where I was aligned with, okay, who does God say that I am? Who do I even want to be? What do I feel called to do? How do I feel called to live? And so with the stripping away, with the elimination of the external noise and the external voices, that is where the recovering of in the stillness, the recovering of intuition came, and I experienced that. So I'm just going to jump here in the chat. Good morning. I'm glad to see you guys. Divya, I grew up in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Where are you from? Jenny, thank you. I'm glad you're here. We do try to stay lovely and respectful to each other too. Angry Man James, good morning. The Carnes, we were reading from A Course in Miracles. Terry Adams. I feel like that's, we don't talk about that on here, but I hope that you can find someone to chat about with you. My name is Mikey. How do you feel about that? Mikey, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Dustin, we're reading through a Course in Miracles. So to be honest with you, I have not done hardly any study. I was telling folks the other day, I've hardly done any study into Carl Jung. So I don't know if he's aligned with this, but perhaps. All right, I'm just scrolling down. Brian Bentley, good morning. But if you are reading what you are saying, then which component of your own mind are you expressing? That's an interesting question. I don't know. It's interesting because I think that as we are reading, I would imagine, I'm not sure if this is exactly what you're asking for, but it's like you're utilizing the intellectual intelligence to be able to do that. And at the same time, if you're really reading and consuming what you're reading, then you're likely going to have emotions spark as you read. And so I think actually a big purpose so for those of you who are new to the Knowing Show, a lot of what we talk about is how to cultivate the human intelligence, how to be awake and live online. For so many years, and so often I see this in others, we live asleep. We're not actually living awake to what's going on inside of us, what's going on in ourselves in reaction and in response to the rest of the world. We're living in accordance with these old patterns and programs that we have on autopilot. And so the goal would be actually, and reading is a really, really good example of this. It's so easy to just read the words and not have it actually sink into our brain and actually process it and then inform the way that we live. I take a long time to read books because it feels like eating. I eat the words, I process the words, and then I integrate them into my life. And so it will take me a good 6 months to read through a book because I want that to be the impact. And I'll reread the same book over and over again because I really want the integration of it rather than just using the IQ speeding through it. I want it to integrate into the other parts of my life. So I actually wonder, Brian, it's just, I love that you brought up this point. If I was to be holistic in the way that I read books, in the way that I engage in conversations, in the way that I do my job, what would change if I'm really bringing a holistic, full bodied, full intelligent perspective and presence to everything we do? And what that actually probably means is that we maybe can't do as much, because if we're really activating all those parts of us when we're engaging with our kids, when we're engaging with our partner, with whatever book we're reading, we probably actually can't consume as much. And so it allows then for us to have more time for the processing, for taking everything that we just heard, learned, consumed, and then allowing for the processing of it, and then following that, the integration of it. Um, Dustin said could also be Freud. I don't, to be honest, I don't know the difference too well. So you'll have to tell me. um, Richard, good morning. Thanks for joining. Brandon, German, good morning. Richard, I actually have a branding and marketing business. So I have a marketing business for the trades. I'm also involved in my family's painting business. It's fourth generation. So, all right, just scrolling through. Robbie, good morning. J Pot, good morning. I love it. Dustin says, it may not pay the bills, but it does brighten the world. Y'all, I love that point. Knowing our why is so, so critically important. And the why is not just the financial reason for why we would do something. Just being purely motivated financially, again, that's just engaging one part of you. But man, if you've got an emotional component coming into why you're doing what you're doing every single day, if you have a mission, if you have, honestly, I would even say, even spiritually, if you know what you're called to do, what were you created to do in the first place? And then you're engaging the world from the place of, yes, your IQ is engaged 100%. Yes, perhaps you're making money off something, but man, you've got a mission and you've got a calling where it's like, I am doing this and this is exactly what I should be doing. And it changes entirely the way that you actually, it changes the execution, right? Because when you're propelled by something deeper than just, the paycheck and the exchange of time for money, now my execution is going to be so much more wholehearted, and I'm going to be so much more present in that. And I would say, I don't, the things that bring me money are not always the things that I'm so passionate about. I'm so grateful I love my job, and I'm so grateful I love branding and marketing, and I'm not making a dime with knowing. Maybe one day, but not now. But this is my mission. This is the thing that I feel so called to. And to your point, there's different metrics that measure success for me in my mission than something that is my job. I fundamentally measure them differently in terms of success. With my job, yes, money definitely is something that I need to have as a KPI. But with my mission, money actually is not included right now. It more so has to do of what is the kind of feedback that I'm getting? What's the conversations that we're having? Is there quality conversations? Is there connection? Is there change? Is there impact being made? And for me, those are the metrics that I'm looking at as we engage on the Knowing Show and the Knowing community. We're launching that this week. And so there's a lot more meaning that I'm finding as I'm starting to recognize that money is not the only KPI that we should be chasing. And so when we know our mission, when we know why we're here, our why then conforms and adjusts to something greater than ourselves and greater than even just a momentary gain. It actually, we're looking for something that has longer lasting impact when we have a real mission. right, just jumping back here in the chat. Aditya, good to see you. I'm so glad you're back. I'd love to hear how you're doing. I really enjoyed our conversation on Friday. Henry, good morning. I'm just going to put you on timeout for now. We just don't talk like that. Starzy, I'm going to put you on timeout. Thanks for joining. So Dustin says, would the Jungian concept of the shadow be considered the firefighter? That's such an interesting point. And I think I'm pretty far away from the most recent chats. But the shadow, okay, so you know what's funny? I think that the shadow there it's just like a completely different. So we were talking about internal family systems, where internal family systems breaks down into, there's like parts of us, and there's the true part. There's a true self, effectively, the one that was made originally as we were created to be, and is pure, unadulterated, and is very much so the part of us that is the true me. And so, and then what Dustin was bringing up is the concept of shadow and the light part of us. And I think that that's just a completely, oh, I think I went out. Am I back? Everything is black on my end, so I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, I think I'm back. I don't know what happened. The shadow part is a completely different frame. But what I will say, this is interesting. I actually wonder if perhaps that Jungian concept is that you've got the true self, and then the shadow would be the manager or the firefighter that is taking the bright and beautiful and unique to us and then distorts it to be something that is actually just intended for protecting the wounded part of us, rather than actually doing the work to process it and heal from it. Now it's something to hide behind and hide from the rest of the world, rather than actually being able to be bold and engage with the world wholehearted. So y'all, I'm glad you brought this up, because we're talking about really engaging the world from a holistic place. But man, if we've got these wounds that we're hiding, we're hiding in the closet. It's kind of like, I think of it as kind of drawing a curtain on these parts of us that have been wounded, and people can't access it, but then we can't access it either. And so we're actually not really fully showing up, and we're not actually being authentic, because there's parts of us that are hidden even from our own selves. And they're for good reason. There's been hurt there in the past or pain in the past. But anytime any part of us is hidden, it is going to be so incredible. It's impossible for us to walk in the fullness of the light that we could bring into the world. One of the core lessons from A Course in Miracles over the last couple of months has been that we are the light of the world, and we are intended to be a light and intended to usher in not only just our full presence of being, but through that, the presence of God that changes the way we show up and changes the hearts of other people. Because we all know this, our world is more messy and broken than ever before. And so we actually need something more than what we can just offer. But man, if we are hiding parts of ourselves and there's shame around it and we're not walking in the light, then we cannot fundamentally be a light for others. Just jumping back here in the chat. Salty Salvatore. I'm it's so interesting to hear you say that. Okay, John Reed said live was a little bit laggy, but it's good now. Okay, good. All right. For those of you who are just not bringing value to the chat, I'm just putting you guys on timeout, because I really like to keep this. I really like to keep the chat here integrous. We'll just say that. All right. I'm going to put you on timeout, CWAG. Yeah, Keith Ruff, we're going to be fixing that. He says it's an unfiltered stream of meaningless, not meandering nonsense in the chat. So don't worry, we're going to be changing that. So just so you all know, in the chat, there's like some meaningful comments, and then there's also some crazy comments. So I'm going to be changing things this week. The Knowing Community is launching, which I'm super excited for, and only subscribers can comment, and then that's going to kind of keep us on the straight and narrow here. I will say, I've said this many times before, but in the chat, the goal is not that we all just sit here and have our own echo chamber of agreeing with each other. By no means. Yet there is a desire and an intent that we grow together. And growth comes from vulnerability. It comes from truth. It comes from taking radical responsibility to look in the mirror rather than pointing the finger or blame, or frankly, even just being unkind. And so it really does change then how we show up when we have rules of ethics and rules of engagement. So for those reasons, we are going to be changing some things here in the way that we engage with each other in the chat. I'm excited. I'm really, really, really excited to keep going. John Reed, I thank you. He says, these messages you receive are weird. Please keep your head up. Thank you. I'm excited. I had somebody offered to be a moderator, and then we ended up, I don't know where he went. But I'm very aware that I would love to have a moderator and really kind of keep this moving forward in a really meaningful way, y'all. There's been conversations here in the chat in the past where we've talked about, loss and grief, and we've gotten really, really deep, and it's been really healing for a lot of folks here. And I want to keep the integrity of that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. We're going to be back on live tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to be talking more so about the integration of emotional intelligence with intellectual intelligence. And I'm excited. To continue the conversation. So thank you all so much for joining today. Pavel, good morning. Thanks for hanging out with us. John Reed, I appreciate your message. Thank you. Will Smoot, good morning. Richard, thank you guys for hanging out with us, and I will see you later tonight. Have a good day. Bye.